From Miami, Florida, tonight it's the Pittsburgh Pirates against the Miami Marlins, the first of a 4-game series. The Buccos, one of the hottest teams in baseball. They've won 9 of their last 11. They're a season high, 26 games over the 500 mark, coming off a series win over the San Francisco Giants. Greg Brown along with Bob Walk. And now, Bob, the Pirates turn to the Fish, a team that is really struggling this year, one of the worst records in baseball. And you take a look what the Pirates have done since 2012. Pirates have done great work against the Fish.
Absolutely, Greg. They've really enjoyed their trips down here to South Florida. They've used Miami as a place to come and pad their stats. There you can see the numbers that I'm talking about. In almost every category there, the Pirates have pretty much dominated the Fish, and I see no reason for that not to continue this evening.
Winning 15 of 20, including a 3-game series sweep at PNC Park in May against the Marlins. Pirates get another look at the left-hander Jay Happ. He'll make his 4th start of the year for the Pirates since joining the club before the trade deadline. Bob, I have to love what you've seen of Happ the last couple of starts.
Yeah, really, the last couple of starts, what you are seeing is you're seeing some really good command of that fastball. He's able to put that ball inside, outside, wherever he wants, stay ahead in the count. And really, the stuff is a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Also, the velocity of the fastball has been, 93, 94. There was even a couple of 95. So he's throwing the ball very well.
6 innings of shutout ball his last time out against Arizona on Wednesday. Coming up, we're going to talk about the Pirates' offense. Bucks are going fishing here in Miami. Miami, Pirates and Marlins, first of 4 games. As the Pirates and the Fish getting ready. Take a look at the Barrel Automotive League leader stat this month of August, what the Pirates offense has done. And it's just pretty incredible, Bob. You look at the first half of the season, the team really carried by the pitching staff, and then they passed the baton to the offense.
Absolutely. It really, for me, it started July. Is where it started clicking. After the All-Star break, you started to see the team score a lot more runs. And to me, it's all about that home run. Look at the home runs per game. And that's what's taken over this club. They've been able to start getting the ball out of the ballpark with regularity. I mean, it's almost like every night there's 1 or 2 home runs going over the fence, and that just totally creates a different situation with this offense when you're getting the home run ball on a regular basis like they are right now.
So we'll be getting ready for baseball here in just a moment, but first we'll send it back to Rob King for a game break.
Toyota. Toyota helps you get the most out of your drive. Just ask a friend who drives one. Toyota, let's go places. And by Barrel Automotive, we're driven to be better. Let's go Bucks.
Marlins take the field here at Marlins Park. This club tied with the Phillies for the worst record in the National League East. Only the Rockies have a lower winning percentage in all of baseball. The Pirates going through their pregame routines. Andrew McCutchen trying to paddle his way and continue.
It's never really the same.
It's always different. Where did they come up with that one?
I don't know what that is. He was like paddling upstream maybe, and then
I mean, what is
I don't know.
Take a look at the Toyota starting lineup while you try and figure out what that was all about. Gregory Polanco, Starling Marte, then Andrew McCutchen, career batting average of .367 in this ballpark. Jung Ho Kang hits cleanup, then it's Neil Walker and Francisco Cervelli. Pedro Alvarez, Jordy Mercer, his first start since coming off the disabled list yesterday. Then Jay Happ on the hill. Now Ramos Ramirez gets the night off.
Take a look at Kohler's numbers on the season, but that really doesn't reflect how he's pitched of late. He has really been on the downhill slide. Hopefully the Pirates can continue helping him down the hill a little bit. A couple of home runs he gave up his last start.
Behind the plate for him, the Fish, JT Realmuto. Honda defense includes Casey McGee and D. Gordon on the right side, Adeiny Echeverria, Martin Prado on the left side, Derek Dietrich, Marcell Ozuna, and Ichiro Suzuki, the ageless one, in right field and having a solid season. D. Gordon back off the disabled list and the league's leading hitter. One of the more exciting players in the game. Here's another one. Gregory Polanco. Remember last summer, his first big league home run here in this ballpark. .261 average. And underway. Ball one. And rifles this toward right center field and past Ichiro. To the wall it goes. Gregory Polanco. Second pitch of the game, a double to right center.
Great backspin on that ball. You could see the ball just did not want to come down, kept carrying. And Ichiro ended up a little fooled on this. I don't know if he could have caught it anyway. It was hit so hard, but beautiful backspin put on that ball. It helped it carry.
Yeah,
he thought he was going to have a catch, and then at the last moment he's like, nope, put my head down and run to the fence. Not going to catch that one.
25 doubles on the year for Polanco. It brings up Starling Marte. Popped up
by the rafters.
Yeah, Casey McGee. Rivers Casino tips to win.
Well, the first one, good memories for Polanco. We already touched on that. You did, Greg, and he's got to be really fired up about being back in this ballpark. Kind of, one of the places where it really got started for him, and he had so much success in that series. I think he's going to have a good game tonight. I think he's going to have a good 4 days down here. And Kutch, make us smile, huh? I think, well, referring to the lost veneer, but. I really think that Kutch also is going to be hitting the heck out of the baseball down here tonight. I'll be very surprised if we don't see him put one over the fence in tonight's ball game. Well, he had a pretty good one to hit there over the inside corner.
Oh, and 1.
You notice a lot of times early in a ball game, especially the first at bat, sometimes Kutch will have a little problems with one pitch, inside fastball, for instance, like that first swing and a miss. But don't think you're going to get him out with that pitch, maybe his third at bat. That's the one where go back in there and all of a sudden it's in the bullpen. He's so good about making in-game adjustments on how a pitcher is working him.
Backhand pick by Realmuto. 1-2 count on Andrew McCutchen.
Yeah, a breaking ball. It's not the classic way you're supposed to catch. He got away with it. Was it a breaking pitch? Wasn't it?
I think so.
If that was a fastball, that'd be okay. Not a breaking ball.
And down goes McCutchen.
No smiling after this at bat. Pretty good curveball.
So Jung Ho Kang will try and do it with 2 outs. Leadoff double. Polanco hasn't moved from second. Young with 46 runs batted in. Picked up another RBI last night.
Good eye. It was a close one.
28-year-old Tom Kohler from the Bronx, really struggling last few starts. Well, if you look at his splits, he's much better at home. His last 3 starts were on the road, and in Atlanta, St. Louis, and Milwaukee struggled. 4th career start against the Pirates, looking for his first career win. 6.75 lifetime ERA versus Pittsburgh. Dan Jennings took over this club from the front office, the general manager. Replaced Mike Redmond early in the year.
The thing that's hurt these guys has been injuries.
Oh, has it ever?
When the season starts, you look at their roster and you think, wow, they got a decent club. They might do something this year, but they could not stay healthy. I mean, that happens to a lot of teams. Everybody has these problems, and the Marlins just weren't able to overcome it.
To say teams like the Marlins really can't afford
they
those
don't
type
have the
injuries.
depth. They don't have the depth.
Jose Fernandez, of course, was coming back from Tommy John surgery, made a few starts, and then went on the DL with a little shoulder issue. But he will be back. It'll be an interesting September when the Marlins will have most of their players back, including Giancarlo Stanton and Jose Fernandez, Christian Yelich on the DL, Henderson Alvarez, David Phelps a starter. 2-2 on Kang. First start this season for Kohler against the Bucks. And it remains 2-2 on Jung Ho Kang, who has 6 hits in his last 15 ABs.
Kohler had been pitching pretty well in this ballpark until his last couple of starts here. He's given up more earned runs than he has innings pitched. But he's got a good arm. You can see the stuff is good. Real nice curveball, but probably not the control that he needs.
Kohler's last start for these Marlins was in Milwaukee, lasted just 4 1/3, gave up 7 runs on 9 hits, walked 4.
50 base on balls, I think, about 130 innings. It's just enough to create some problems.
Just reaching out and fouling another pitch off for Jung Ho Kang. 8 pitches now, this AB. Muto going to chat things over with Tom Kohler. 6'3", 233 pounds. Pitching coach Chuck Hernandez for these Marlins. Struck him out looking after all that. Leadoff double for Polanco. He is stranded. Jay Happ will take the hill. for the Marlins. Dee Gordon leads things off. Last 8 games, he's hitting .438. Ichiro follows. Martin Prado, Derek Dietrich. And it's Marcell Ozuna, Casey McGee, JT Realmuto, the catcher, Adeiny Echeverria, and Tom Kohler.
Jay Happ's numbers brought to you by Hyundai. And those are his Pirate numbers, and they have been good. The one that I think, Greg, you really look at there is looking at the amount of strikeouts and walks. That ratio is outstanding. If he can keep that up, he's going to do great work the rest of the season.
He's gotten progressively better with each start. First one against the Cubs lasted just 4 1/3, gave up 4 runs. And then in New York against the Mets, 5 1/3, 1 run. Last time out, 6 innings of 2 hit shutout ball.
He threw that last pitch so hard, Greg. I didn't even see it.
I didn't either. And I don't think the umpire did because he didn't make a call.
There we go. He's been getting ahead in the count. Really showing some excellent control. You know, and even that pitch there, even though it's not a strike, it's still good control. Of course, Cervelli wanted it. Hit the glove.
Traded over from the Mariners. Jay Happ. Toward left. 1 out. Always good to get that man, Dee Gordon, to begin the ball game. The league's leading hitter.
Well, Marte really has been having trouble with lights of late. I thought starting to shy away from that ball a little bit. You could see he was fighting those lights.
Jordy Mercer's back. He was a late inning defensive replacement last night. Clint Hurdle talking about wanting to get Mercer back in there. He hits well against the Marlins. Get Ramirez off his feet because of the late arrival, or early this morning, we should say. And Ichiro now chops it to Pedro Alvarez, who makes the play.
Pedro didn't make the play nobody was going to. Ichiro was going to beat that one out.
41 years old, he can still run.
Happ got a little bit of momentum going the other way, and Ichiro was going to run right by him.
A line out and a bouncer to first. And Happ faces Martin Prado. Another player who missed time because of injury this year, Prado. Playing in his 98th game. Oh, 0-2. And the bobblehead museum. Dave Parker and Pokey Reese.
Mike Gonzalez and Oliver Perez.
Freddie Sanchez.
A couple of hard throwing lefties.
Yeah. I don't remember that giveaway, do you? The double bobblehead. Gonzo and Ollie. The bobblehead museum.
I guess it shakes, right?
Looks like it. One-two count on Prado. Historically a tough out. Jay Happ making his 4th Pirate start. Still 1-2. Happ's former club, Philadelphia Phillies, just in to take on these Marlins and doing a number on the fish. As Ray Searage looks on. There's a base hit for Prado. Two-out single.
Probably just a case of a mislocated fastball when he was ahead in the count. If he'd have got that ball in there where Cervelli wanted it, it would not have been hit like that, but drifted out over the center of the plate, got whacked.
Now Happ faces a left-handed hitter, Derek Dietrich. Dietrich hitting .273 with 9 homers, 20 ribbies. 26-year-old Cleveland, Ohio native.
That makes sense that he plays left field here.
Yeah, closer to the Clevelander. The nightclub located
just beyond left field fence.
2-1 on Dietrich. Grandson of a longtime member of the Pirates organization, Steve Demeter. Demeter was once a Pirates big league coach and for many years a minor league manager and coach instructor. Dietrich would follow his grandfather along on many trips throughout some of the Pirates minor league ballparks.
Steve was on Chuck's staff when I came here in '84, one of his coaches.
Chuck Tanner's club included Demeter on that staff. There's a chopper. A tough play for anybody but Happ, and in this case Gung. It's going to be an infield hit.
Every now and then you get burnt by the shift. The shift takes a lot of base hits away, but sometimes, like that one right there, if you were playing the normal third base position and with a lefty up, you probably can cut across and you're going to field that ball on the grass in there by where the mound is. But you have to play the percentages. You take a chance of giving up a chopper like that for a hit.
Marcell Ozuna recalled from AAA New Orleans about 10 days ago. (2-0).
Looked like it was going to be a real nice quick inning for Happ. Now it's going to get extended a little.
2-2 on Ozuna.
A couple quick outs. Was quickly out in front of Prado.
He's made 9 career starts, by the way, against the Marlins. 2 wins, 2 losses against the Fish with a .454 ERA. Great career numbers against teams in the National League East. He's 15-4.
They had that
against teams in this division.
Excellent rookie year with the Phillies.
Line foul.
ended up getting traded to Houston, right? Then, that's Toronto, Seattle. Now he's a Bucko.
Another foul out of play. Stays 2-2. Yep, J. Happ was originally a third-round pick of the Phillies in 2004. And the Astros got him. Deadline deal 6 years later. Roy Oswalt was dealt to Philadelphia. Another foul. Still 2-2 on Ozuna. Bucks right now a season high 26 games over 500. Trying to stay close to those Cardinals. And that'll do it. An extended at bat for Ozuna, but he strikes out looking against J. Happ. More bobbleheads for you. 0-0. On to the second.
Well, after the Pirates beat the Giants last night with Mark Melancon and struck out Marlon Byrd, they ushered their way very quickly to Pittsburgh International Airport, and it was a little bit of a hurry. And here's about what the last 19, 20 hours looked like for your Pirates. So they won the game at 11:42. 1:37, the flight departed, landed here in Miami, 3:58. Hotel check-in by the time you get on the bus, about 4:30. Bedtime, 4:45, 5 o'clock, and there you see Clint Hurdle move the bus back. Team meeting at 4:45. And a 7:10 p.m. first pitch. Now, J. Happ did fly down yesterday on his own so he could get a normal night's sleep. Plus, you have to keep in mind, Greg and Bob, that the Pirates tonight, this is game 14 of 20 in a row without an off day. So this is quite a challenge for Clint Hurdle and his staff when you have to balance rest with preparation.
And Robbie, you know, it seems to me anyway that when the club is playing well, and Bob, heck, you can attest to this, when you're playing well, you really don't want a day off. This ball hit toward the left fielder in the air, Dietrich.
Yeah, the way they're going right now, you don't want to break any kind of momentum that they have. Just keep trucking along, and you know, as long as everybody gets 8 hours sleep, it's the main thing, right?
Exactly.
Doesn't matter if it's at night or during the day.
Right.
Still 8 hours. At least that's the way I always looked at it.
Now, Pirates have a 3-game series against the Rockies starting Friday night at PNC Park. Oh, wow. So Billy ducks out of the way and smiles.
He's like a turtle. Try to get in the shell really quick. Took him a while to move, though, didn't it?
Ball's in, said the home plate umpire Jeff Kellogg. 2-1 on Cervelli. Pedro Alvarez next. Rest of the umpires: Brian Honora at first, Clint Fagan, Alan Porter. 3-1. Francisco Cervelli. One away. And this in the air to right. There's Ichiro. And he battles the lights a bit. 2 down.
These lights probably, Greg, don't you agree, a little lower than in a normal stadium? Because it's a dome. You got a roof, so you can only put them up there so high. But the thing is, too, though, that it all depends on where the ball is. You can put them up, another 30 feet higher, and if the ball had a little more arc to it, well, then now it's in the lights again. So I never saw a ball get in the lights until Dave Parker was in there. I think he invented the ball in the lights.
He invented the ball in the lights.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
So guys like Ichiro and Marte have Dave Parker the thing.
Yeah, ball in the lights. I don't know that for a fact.
I do remember a time though with Parker.
Some lore.
I sure remember when there was almost an uproar about it, and they had to do something
with the
working
lights.
those lights at Three River Stadium because of Parker's issues. Two and 1 on Alvarez. His 20th home run of the year last night. He and Andrew McCutchen hit home runs. It was an interesting evening for Pedro Alvarez. Take a look at the National League home run leader since 2012. He is second behind only Giancarlo Stanton. He had some major issues defensively, problems at first base, charged with 2 errors, could have been 3, and then he hit the home run. And there's a line drive right at the second baseman, playing a shallow right field. Bucks go down in order. It's 0-0. take a look at tonight's Allegheny Health Network injury update. And we were talking about this just a few moments ago. Some of the key injuries, including Henderson Alvarez, who was out for the year after undergoing right shoulder surgery. Jose Fernandez came back from Tommy John and then went back on the DL, and he expects to be back by September. Same with Giancarlo Stanton, hoping to return soon. Had left hand surgery. Christian Yelich has a new knee bruise. To name just a few Marlins on the shelf. Casey McGee back in South Florida. McGee let go by the Giants. The Marlins traded him to San Francisco in December. He was to replace Pablo Sandoval. Really struggled. Matt Duffy stepped in. He was released by the Giants first week of July and signed back with the Marlins. Former Pirate Casey McGee. Three and one. McGee spent part of the 2012 season with the Buccos, and they traded him that summer to the Yankees for Chad Qualls. Headed up the middle. And a leadoff single. It'll bring up the catcher, JT Realmuto. Point Park University tweet: does such a quiet atmosphere have any effect on a team used to near sellout crowds, Bob?
Well, as a pitcher, it does, because you can hear every individual yelling at you in a situation like this. Or if it's a big crowd, you don't hear anybody.
So you pay attention to when people are yelling at you?
Well, you have to if they're yelling at me. You yell at me all the time. I pay attention to you. Seriously, you can't. It's a total different thing. You hear all the individuals, whatever they're saying, you hear them.
Kind of takes you back to your minor league days.
Yeah, or like mid '80s at Brewers Stadium, where you get a big crowd, and then it's just a bunch of noise, and you don't even really notice that at all. Because I can remember people would ask me, "Oh, you go to a ballpark on the road and it's packed, is that intimidating?" No, it's not intimidating at all. This to me is more of an intimidating situation. You just don't have that many people.
So I assume most players would feel the same way you do, or you think that's just have you talked to other guys about that?
No.
Is it possible that, no, I'm just wondering if it's possible that other guys aren't affected as much
by people yelling at them?
Yeah, I mean,
probably other people could shut that thing off. I'm more sensitive, I guess.
Deep to center field. That's a deep center field. I mean, it's a cavern here.
It's a big ballpark. 386 to left, 392 to right.
I mean, it is a big yard.
And one of the bigger outfields that you will see in baseball.
Take a look at this drive, and still with room. 418.
Didn't even make it to the warning track.
That high wall. Marlins Park opened in 2012. Retractable roof. Averaging about, paid anyway, 22,000. Not nearly that many here. And only Cleveland and Tampa Bay have lower attendance figures than the Marlins. Echeverria in the hole 0-2. It's got a little bit of an Olympic Stadium feel.
Tonight
Old days at Montreal.
Yeah.
Right now.
And I think, Rick, that's what gets your attention more than if it's a packed house. You're used to a packed house. When there's nobody there, and you can hear all the individual like hecklers or whatever. And not that it's bothering you. I'm not saying it like bothers you, but I'm saying you can hear them. It's a different scenario.
J-Happ gets Echeverria 2 away.
Kind of like getting heckled on the road. Road heckling is almost an enjoyable experience. Heckling at home is not good. You're getting heckled at home, there's a problem. You're having a bad year.
Tom Kohler, he has 1 hit in 35 at bats. The Marlins, they had high hopes when they opened up this yard. 2012, lost 93 games. However, the first year finished in last in the East, last again in 2013. They lost 100 games, in fact. Some improvement last year out of the cellar and went 77 and 85. And again, the general manager Dan Jennings, putting a solid club together. And down on strikes, back-to-back Ks for Happ. It is 0-0 after 2. Reaching the pinnacle of the All-Star game and bypassing Hall of Famers on the all-time strikeout list. Journey across an emotional final season with the man they call Batman on Inside Pirates Baseball, A.J. Burnett. Bat turn tomorrow after postgame on Root Sports. The PMC scoreboard, it is 0-0.
You know, in the clubhouse in Pittsburgh, they have a room where they keep all the bats.
That's the bat room.
Got a sign over. Yeah, a sign over it says bat room.
Yeah,
there's only one locker you can be sitting in front of in that entire clubhouse, and you can see the bat room from. Guess whose locker?
Batman's.
AJ's. Only place you can see the bat room. Things like that just don't happen by chance, you know.
Jordy Mercer leading off. A.J. Burnett hopes to be back sometime next month, and continues to throw. I think they said that tomorrow maybe he'll be throwing more than just the fastballs in his side session.
Had a schedule, perhaps? Maybe.
My guess is we'll see him sometime in the middle of next month.
The middle, not before.
Well, I can't imagine he'd be ready for the very start of September. Point Park University tweet. This guy's back. Berg fans, Jordy Mercer thanking them for all the support. Great to be back. The tweet that he sent out. What a great reaction it was too at PNC Park last night when Tim DeBacco, the Pirates public address announcer, announced the 7th inning changes, where Jung Ho Gong moved to third base, replacing Aramis Ramirez, And Jordy Mercer entered the game to play short. Got a great ovation.
Well, he's extremely popular, as he should be. Well, he's done a great job since taking over that shortstop position. In certain places, you really kind of want to solidify things, and that's one of them.
So again, Clint Hurdle wanted to get him back in the lineup. He likes the fact that he hits .333 career against the Fish. Line drive, but speared by Prado.
So some things don't change. Mercer hits in the worst luck of anybody I've ever seen. So, not surprising. First time up. Lines out. I mean, just rips this ball. Looked like it's down the line for a double, and it goes for an out.
Allegheny Health Network Supermo. And now Jay Happ. A couple of strikes on him. Not much of a hitter in his career, just a .087 average. Does have a home run. Hit that 4 years ago. And for Tom Kohler, that's his third strikeout. He's gone through the order one time, gave up a Gregory Polanco double to start the ball game. Second pitch that Polanco saw. And he got Starling Marte to foul out. He struck out McCutchen and Gong. Last inning, gave up a couple of lineouts to Francisco Cervelli and Pedro Alvarez. And this inning began with a Mercer lineout.
Polanco may be the most aggressive leadoff hitter in all of baseball. He goes up there and he's looking for a pitch. Usually if he gets a fastball in the strike zone, that first pitch he is going for it. No messing around. Doesn't matter if there's 2 outs and the pitcher just struck out or anything.
Yeah, it's true. Early on in his career liked the Fish, hitting over 400 against Marlins pitching. And another shot off the glove of the second baseman Gordon. Another hit for Polanco. Takes the wide turn. Wow. And he almost got thrown out by D. Gordon.
Might have should have at least kind of come back to the bag, feet first. Make a tag a little tougher. And McGee really did.
Jeez.
Was close to just being able to pop a tag right on his shoulder. D. Gordon just getting that ball hit off the edge of the glove.
Marte fouled out in the first. Quick throw over there for Tom Kohler, but Polanco, who has stolen 20 bases, caught 9 times. gets back. And that's fouled off. Starling Marte. Game last night. A couple of hits. Stole a base, scored a run. Coming off that game on Saturday afternoon against the Giants, where he took a home run away. Great defensive play. Ball hit by Brandon Crawford, and then provided the walk-off 2-out homer in the bottom of the ninth off George Cantos. Like Polanco wanted to, but shut it down. 2-1.
Like a decent jump.
Real Muto has thrown out a little over 25% of the runners trying to steal, and with Kohler on the hill, opposition is 3 out of 6. Goes Polanco, and it's lined toward right field and gets down. Putting runners at first and third. On a 2-2 pitch, Marte singles to right.
Yeah, that line you gave for Marte and a couple of hits, scored a run. It's just like it's average night for Marte now. Nice jump, no reason to stop.
Bob, this Pirate outfield, this trio of Polanco, Marte, and McCutchen, is starting to see it evolve into what many people were projecting to be maybe the best. And we're here at this ballpark where over the winter they said this was the best outfield in baseball.
Well, the way they're playing right now is when last time we were here, that's what we talked about these three guys. And, you know, what it could be like. Well, now, second half of the season, we're finally seeing it.
Fastball in the dirt. Not fair to say that the Marlins can't get there with the outfield that they have when they're healthy. Right now, Giancarlo Stanton and Christian Yelich, the corners, are on the DL. Ozuna has struggled this season. McCutchen struck out on a breaking ball. Marcell Ozuna was sent down to the minor leagues, struggled so badly. Two and one now. 19 homers, 79 runs batted in. Arizona Diamondbacks first baseman Paul Goldschmidt leads the league. He's driven in 93. The Rockies Nolan Arenado 92. Buster Posey and Andrew McCutchen with 79 runs batted in. One year ago today, McCutchen was hitting .305 with 18 homers, 68 runs batted in.
His batting average and runners in scoring position this season.
Yep.
Probably the difference in those numbers.
Hitting .383, tops in the league.
Hasn't been missing many opportunities to cash in on a ribeye.
You see those numbers. And by the way, with Polanco in scoring position, Andrew McCutchen is playing in his 1,000th career game. Made his big league debut June 4, 2009. Marte takes off. Hit in the air to right field. Ichiro is over. And it is going to be a fair ball. It settles right there at the wall. It's a 2-run double for Andrew McCutchen and a 2-0 Pirates lead in the third.
Hey, he made a smile, man. Runner in scoring position. He delivers opposite field double.
So many Pirate fans on hand here smiling.
The only question there was that ball going to be able to stay fair? You could tell it was deep enough that Ichiro was not going to get there, but coming off the right-hand hitter's bat, it's always going to slice and go toward the foul line. Kohler trying to give it a little body English there as he started backing up, trying to maybe get that ball to go foul. Probably about 10 feet fair right at the base of the wall.
So 81 RBIs this season for Andrew McCutchen. He drove in 83 all of last year, 84 the season before that. Never driven in 100 or more, but he's seemingly well on his way. And now he takes off for third. The ball is hit toward the seats right side. Gone. Strikeout victim in the first. Two and one. McCutchen. Number 30 in terms of doubles. It's also among the league leaders. Having another MVP type season. Chopper, shortstop Echeverria. Goes out, gone. 2-out action for the Pirates. Polanco and Marte single, McCutchen double, both home. Heading to the bottom of the third in Miami. First of 4 with the Marlins. And we want to see your strongest fan photo. Use the hashtag #PittDataStrongFan, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast. It's brought to you by T-Mobile. #PittDataStrongFan, the hashtag. First pitch strike. Back to the top of the order, and D. Gordon.
A well-placed breaking ball with the first pitch. Thinking about laying one down, or maybe just trying to draw Jung Ho in as close as he can so he can try and slap one by him.
In on the grass, Gong.
Couldn't slap one by him.
Talking to Clint Hurdle about Gong playing third base, and would you like to see him play there every day? And he said right now nobody on the infield has a regular starting spot in one particular role. So Gong will bounce back and forth between short and third depending on matchups, who's hot. A lot of moving parts on that Pirates infield the rest of the way. You can count on Marte, McCutchen, Polanco, that outfield almost every night, and Cervelli behind the plate. Check the lineup card when you walk into the clubhouse every day.
It'd be tough to get Gong out of there, though.
Yeah.
The way he's hitting the ball. I mean, he's been a mainstay in the middle of the lineup. Been a cleanup or fifth for well over a month now. They're doing a great job. One of the RBI engines of the club.
I think what's going to happen in the foreseeable future is it's going to be Ramirez and Mercer basically getting nights off. So it sounds like. Who knows if we see Ramos Ramirez play first base anytime soon. Ichiro grounded out in the first. Ramos Ramirez has been driving in runs. Managers love to see that, the RBIs.
And what really we've seen out of Ramirez is what he's still an excellent RBI guy. Obviously, there's still some gas in the tank. He said that this is his last year, and I know he means it, but if he was to change his mind, he would probably have quite a few takers out there around baseball that would be offering him a third base job.
14 RBIs over his last 16 games.
Still getting it done.
This is about as strong a bench, Bob, as the Pirates have had in a long time.
Absolutely.
A walk to Ichiro. Pirates baseball back on the national stage, and coming up against the Rockies on Friday. First 20,000 fans will get a Pirates t-shirt. Go to pirates.com/free shirt Friday. Pirates are back on the national stage last night, and they're liable to be back on the national stage. In fact, I think in St. Louis, Pirates will be back on national television. That's when the Buccos make their next road trip. And it'll be a big weekend series. It's going to be a Sunday night game again for the Pirates. September the 6th in St. Louis.
That'll be a tough one.
Oh.
Sunday night game and then a day game. I mean, we're talking about a night game after a night game.
Well, in St. Louis on Sunday, September the 6th, and then on Labor Day, Monday the 7th in Cincinnati for that day game. So get your sleep now while you can. 0-2 on Prado.
Well, get out of bed.
Agree at all with that call.
Get out of bed and go straight to the ballpark.
Let's do that.
Oh, I will.
No.
I'll be on the bus. Whatever time the bus is, I'll be there. Sitting in it right there next to Greg, the other Greg.
That was a strike, but Prado didn't think so. Jeff Kellogg.
Hitters don't agree with the umpire very often when they put up the right hand.
right to the second baseman Walker. That combination, Walker and Mercer, in the middle part of this defense for a long time, and routine inning-ending DP. Two 2-0 Pirates lead. Head to the fourth inning. Martin Prado hit into that routine double play. It's a Chick-fil-A double play right to Neil Walker.
Tailor-made.
Walker, Mercer, Alvarez, the 4-6-3 double play. Prado does hit into a bunch of double plays. Tough man to strike out, but he'll put the ball on the ground, and Jay Happ did a nice job to get him. Back for the Pirates offense, Neil Walker. How often do you see it in baseball? The guy that starts the double play leads off the next half inning.
Going on forever, Greg. Certain things are etched in stone. Glad you're coming around to this kind of stuff. It's like talking about, jinxing a no-hitter, that kind of sort of. You used to not believe in that, but now you do. I like it.
Had nothing to do with the jinx.
It's
Jay
the same
Hay,
stuff.
Josh Harrison.
Same stuff.
Harrison started back-to-back games after returning. Now gets its second straight night off. Another guy that Clint Hurdle will fit into the lineup whenever he sees a good opportunity. 3-1. Walker's brother-in-law Donnie Kelly is another player on the disabled list for the Marlins. Saw them visiting before the ball game. Ball 4 and a leadoff walk. Francisco Cervelli will be stepping in. We'll go back to Pittsburgh. Rob King and a State Farm game break. All right, Rob, thanks. It sounded like a script out of Hollywood. David Wright hitting the home run, his second of the year and his first at bat since coming off the disabled list. But then DeGrom lasting just 2 2/3 innings, 7 runs, 6 earned, walked 3. His worst outing of the year.
Just another example of not taking anything for granted. I'm sure Met fans are thinking, okay, the lowly Phillies, DeGrom's on the mound, Wright's coming back, and this is going to be a great night. It's in the bag, and Phillies are hitting in the third with a 5-run lead. On a nightly basis, it's tough to figure out the game of baseball. Over the long haul, you can pretty much tell what's going to happen. But night to night,
the Nationals, by the way, are off tonight, and they trail the Mets by 5 games in the National League East. And now Cervelli walks on 4 pitches. Not a good start here for Tom Kohler.
This has been a little bit of a problem of his this year, the base on balls. He does a good job making up for it by not giving up many base hits. He has more innings pitched than he has allowed base hits. You know, that's always a good number to look for when you see a pitcher. But then the next place you look when you see that is base on balls. Some guys aren't giving up hits because they're walking everybody.
Chuck Hernandez, the pitching coach. Remember Alvarez, his first time up with nobody on base, they had D. Gordon playing in shallow right field, about 10 steps back. But now with first and second, Gordon
hit that
tries
line
to take away from the pull side, but
that line drive right at him.
Yeah. And ball 1.
Kohler gives up a lot of home runs to left-handed hitters.
Two and 0, and now Kohler is getting himself into some serious trouble here. He's not thrown a strike, 10 straight balls out of the zone.
A lot of times a big ballpark like this, you think, okay, I can challenge somebody, as he did there. But big ballpark doesn't mean anything to Pedro. The dimensions of the outfield fence, he's one of those guys that's a meaningless number because of his power. When he does hit a home run, usually it's not just barely making it over the fence anyway.
Off speed, 2 and 2.
If he wiggles out of this inning somehow, he might look back to that curveball right there behind in the count, able to backdoor it to get himself even with Pedro. That was a pitch he had to make.
And he gets him. Strikes him out. A couple of big pitches in that at bat. Alvarez on the 2-0 getting that fastball right there and fouled it off, and then the next 2 breaking balls.
I think, though, if he would have missed with that 2-1 curveball that he was trying to throw for a strike, he misses with that, goes 3-1 after walking the first 2 guys. Now he's got to throw Pedro a second fastball in the strike zone. Changes that at bat around. I mean, that was a big pitch for him.
Strike 1 on Mercer.
That one looked like it was staying inside. Surprised he got a call on it.
A fly ball to Ichiro.
Well, with Happ coming up there now, looks like he may get out of this inning. It's going to be kind of like the first inning. Very promising.
First and second, nobody out. Strikes out Alvarez. And gets Mercer to fly out to right. Six career RBIs for Jay Happ. Muller feeling good about himself now.
Oh, yeah. You got a guy who played with 6 career RBIs.
Getting that breaking ball over routinely now.
Saying he's not afraid of the bat now.
I'm just saying what happened when he got that strike on Alvarez. So a really confident pitcher now after walking the first 2 guys in the inning. Couldn't throw a strike. And Happ goes down, so 2 walks and they're stranded. 2-0 Pirates.
Pirates Baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by the Chevy Traverse and your Western PA Chevy dealers. And by Day Automotive. We're gonna make your day. Let's go Bucks!
Our Day Automotive, this day in Pirates history coming up. You take a look at South Beach. August 24th, 1978, Pirates won their 10th in a row, 5-1 over the Braves. Bert Blyleven got the win, drove in 3, bases loaded double, went 8 1/3. Teague came on, got the save. Phil Niekro gave up 5 runs in 7 innings for the Braves. This dated 1978. That Pirates team was well behind the Phillies at this time, but then they went on an unbelievable run and took the Phillies down to the final weekend of the regular season in 1978. Wild 4-game series at Three River Stadium. The Phillies ended up winning the division. Derek Dietrich. Infield hit in the first.
No, Greg, I didn't like us not cashing in the first inning with runner at second, nobody out. After that last inning, it kind of leaves a little bad taste in your mouth. You get a couple of, really a gift, 2 walks to start an inning. You almost have to get something out of that. Nothing. Hopefully that won't end up biting us.
Well, nicely done by Jay Happ to come back after his team stranded those 2 runners.
Well, he helped.
Yeah. Come on, that's not his job. This is his job.
Right there on the corner. You know, this has nothing to do with what he just did just now, Greg, but watching Happ hit, I think he'd be much better off if he would swing the bat more. He takes a ton of pitches.
Jay Happ,
Yeah.
Maybe as he watches these other Pirate pitchers, maybe he'll start to pick up on that.
You know, one of the things that just swing at the first 3 pitches.
Yeah.
Probably 2 of them are going to be a strike. One of them for sure. You always have a chance that way.
Ozuna, fly ball to center. Carry out to McCutchen. Happ gets a strikeout, and Ozuna flies out 2 away. Happy birthday wish to Betty Malloy of Turtle Creek and to Charles O'Leary. He watches every game. Charles born in Squirrel Hill. Good hitters there, or at least good effort from Garrett Cole. Francisco Liriano has surprised everyone with the RBIs that he's picked up recently. Casey McGee singled in the second. By the way, the Cardinals are in Arizona tonight. Lance Lynn be on the hill for the Redbirds. One and 2 on McGee. 37 games played now with these Marlins. Fly ball toward Polanco. Oh, Jay Happ, 12 pitch, bottom of the 4th, 2-0. Jung Ho Gong has taken advantage of his chance to play every day. And all of baseball has taken notice. And Richie Hebner fills us in on his career in baseball after his retirement. Much more Inside Pirates Baseball presented by Allegheny Health Network tonight after postgame on Root Sports. Oh, Richie. We saw one of his teammates, didn't we, in the press box? Buster, Bruce Gieson.
Yeah, we talked to Bruce for a while, sat down with him, broke some bread.
Bruce is a scout for the Baltimore Orioles. Jay Happ.
He's got it going.
Yeah, he does. 4 zeros in this game. And now you look back at his last 3 starts, and some work to be done tonight, but wow.
See Ray's in the background there. Didn't take him long. Whatever he says to those guys, it works.
Whoa! Derek Dietrich is
twice
never going to win a Gold Glove. Almost played that into a triple. It's a double for Polanco, and he's 3 for 3.
Yeah, put that backspin on it again. And drives it out over Dietrich's head, up against the fence. Well, as an outfielder, you never want to have to just go and pick up the baseball off the ground.
Yeah, that means that that ball's over your head and it's stopped at the wall.
Yep.
And Kohler thought, even though it was hit hard, he figured that should have been an out, but Dietrich misplays that into a double. There, Dietrich has played some infield and some out. He was the center of some controversy last year surrounding Tina Martinez's leaving as the hitting coach. Dietrich not happy the way Tina Martinez handled things. Starting Marte takes ball one. He has fouled out and singled. Well, this is a similar situation in the first when Polanco led off with a double. Marte then fouled out to the catcher.
He has got some bad swings on curveballs tonight. Kohler has. Pretty good pitch for him.
Fastball misses to Starling Marte. Marte with 61 ribbies on the year. .114 hits as a left fielder. That's the most of any left fielder in the National League. And falls behind now, 3-1. Ball four. Kohler has walked 3. Those 3 coming in the last 2 innings.
He lost that fastball very high.
Andrew McCutchen stepping in. Let's go downstairs to Robbie.
Well, last night, if you haven't heard by now, Andrew McCutchen didn't win a battle with a protein bar in the second inning. He took a bite into a cold one and boom, lost his veneer. Here's a tweet he sent. I've been into a hard protein bar in the second inning and the veneer, my front teeth broke off. Yes, I hit a buck-tooth homer. Good humor by Andrew McCutchen in that situation. Guess what? Despite the late arrival, he woke up early, had the veneer fixed, and to date, he has not taken a bite into a protein bar tonight, Greg and Bob.
It was comical, Robbie, to watch him come back in the dugout. The reaction that he had, his teammates. He keeps it loose. McCutchen had the 2-run double in the 3rd inning that brought home Polanco and Marte, and here we are again. In that case, in the 3rd, there were 2 out. Here in the 5th, no one out. As McCutchen looks to pick up a couple more ribbies. And a line drive, right field, base hit. Rick Schofield will hold Polanco at 3rd, and they are loaded. And McCutchen lines it to right.
Absolutely smoked that ball. Such a great hitter, isn't he? Just
yeah, that's
amazing
to watch. Description. He is a great hitter.
Yeah,
he is a great hitter.
Fastball up and away. He doesn't try to do a whole lot with the ball other than hit it where it's pitched and hit it hard that way. The ball's so hard. That's like a left-handed hitter lining one in the right.
Infield at double play depth.
Man can hit. And smile.
There's the big McCutchen smile that we're used to seeing. Bases loaded, no one out. Young has struck out looking and bounced to short, ending the first inning and ending the third inning. Those two ABs. Young hitting .331 since the All-Star break. He's 2 for 5 with the bases loaded this season with 6 ribbies. One and two. Two balls, 2 strikes. Two and two. Young has gotten a lot of firsts out of the way here in the States. Now looks for his first Major League granny. Bouncing ball picked nicely by McGee. There's one, and they get a double play. Prado with the pick over third to Real Muto and then to McGee. A 5-2-3 double play.
You won't see many prettier than that. Prado with a nice spin and an accurate throw to the plate. As he goes to his left and fields this ball, he just keeps on turning and puts himself in a position to make a strong throw. But sometimes after the spin, how accurate is it going to be? Well, that one's right on the money.
Prado with the pick over there at third, and then the double play. Martin Prado. Now 2 out, second and third. Here's Neil Walker. These innings that have fizzled on the Pirates.
Yeah, there's another one that might get away.
Ryan Ellington up in the pen.
Still a couple of guys in scoring position. And spoke earlier about the long ball problems the Kohlers had with left-hand hitters. We'll have to see Walker get into one here.
Two. 13 of the 17 home runs that Kohler has given up have come against left-handed batters. Young disappointed.
And that might be the most frustrating thing for a hitter to do, is hit it to the home to first double play.
Oh, blocked by Real Muto.
If you hit it to a regular double play, that's not good either. You don't get an RBI, but at least something come out of it. You get a run home.
Two and two on Walker. Cervelli on deck. See Kohler approaching 100 pitches. And a full count. He is due up third, Kohler, in the bottom of the 5th. Jennings would love to see him finish this off. You wonder if he will let Kohler, if he loses Walker, face Cervelli, or will it be Ellington? So a big pitch here for Kohler and for the Pirates and for Neil Walker. And it's ball 4. They're loaded again for Cervelli. 4 walks, All 4 coming in the last 2 innings.
Gotta let him stay.
Yep. Let him face Cervelli, who has lined to right and walked.
I like what Kohler did there, though. He went with a 3-2 breaking ball with the base open, left-hander, right-hander on deck. That would have been a shame to have that base on balls be the reason for him to come out of the ball game just because he made the right decision. Didn't execute the pitch, but he made the right decision.
Popped it up. Cervelli
got out of it.
Yep. Pirates lead 3 more. But lead 2-0. You to join Miller Lite for a tailgate party atmosphere on the Pirates deck. For just $40, the Miller Lite 1,000 seats of summer ticket package includes your game ticket, $10 of loaded value credit good for concessions and merchandise, and a Miller Lite merchandise pack. Get tickets at pirates.com/buckosdeck. The next Miller Lite night is coming up. This brief 3-game series homestand against the Colorado Rockies. And that will be on Friday night. This Friday night, 3 games with the Rockies. Jung Ho Kang disappointed that he was not able to drive in at least one of those runs. And Jay Happ goes back to work. Francisco Cervelli fouls out to end the threat. The pitcher Kohler had to work around traffic in 4 of the 5 innings. Assuming he's done for the night, but we'll see. He's due up 3rd here in the bottom of the 5th.
They really had kind of a lack of command tonight. Wasn't exactly drilling the glove. It was pretty much all over the place. Effectively wild. Is that the word for that?
Wow. Jay Happ strikes out Real Muto to start the bottom of the 5th. That's Happ's 5th strikeout.
Nothing real fancy there. You're going to see a fastball right down the middle. That split the plate right in half.
Zdeno Echeverria bounces one to Kang. Quickly on to first.
watching the way Happ is throwing right now, and you think about, we were talking about Surridge and all, what he's been able to do with a lot of guys, not all of them, but a lot of guys. He's turned around and made them very effective pitchers. And I think there's a common thread with all of them, is they attack the strike zone. There's no more messing around, no more being afraid of the bat, no more trying to strike everybody out, but just being aggressive, throw strikes, and as they say, and we repeat a lot, make something happen in those first 3 pitches. You see that with a lot of them. Now, it's a little different with just about everybody. Francisco, for instance, still gets into those I want to try and strike guys out mode. You can see it where he's trying to make guys chase his pitches and get strikeouts. But for the most part, Frankie is in the strike zone. And I think that really is, I didn't see Happ throw in Seattle. I have no idea what was going on with him. But what we've seen these last 3 games is he goes after the hitters. He's got decent stuff and he throws strikes.
It's interesting, Bob, because we really didn't see that the first game. He seemed to be the guy that was not.
I agree.
And Surridge has said that he's a guy that when he brings in somebody new, he kind of lets them do what they do. And I assume that's kind of what he did. Didn't even bother to talk to Happ about any philosophies or mechanics. I mean, go ahead, go out there and do your thing. And then maybe here's a tweak or two, a suggestion.
Yeah, now Ray is a big mechanic guy. He loves to work on the mechanics. He likes guys to be very repeatable. But I really think that this is more of a caroms off the glove. I think this is more of a philosophy thing than anything else, about an attitude out on the mound. Now, it's an easy attitude to have when everything is going well, to maintain that aggressiveness in the strike zone, and that's a little different when you get in trouble. So I think you're going to have to see Happ throw a dozen ball games,
right, to really know.
Maybe not a dozen, but quite a few, to see exactly what's his reaction going to be when things aren't going well. On days maybe he doesn't have very good control. How's he react to that? Just continue to fight through it.
He gives up a 2-out hit to the pitcher. Fuller credited with a hit, just his second and 37 at bats. The ball wasn't hit all that hard, and it would have been a nice play by Alvarez. Once again, that ball just does not stick in the glove. Pitch up and in on D. Gordon. Gordon is lined out to left and bounced to third. He's got the second best average in the league when it comes to batting against left-handed pitchers. Not only is he leading the league overall, but hitting .366 against southpaws. 2-2 the count on him.
Yeah, nice pitch there, breaking ball. Excuse me, outfield. Mike Gordon fairly shallow, especially with Marte out in left field. Pretty sure that Gordon's not going to drive a ball hard and hit it over his head. More likely to kind of dunk one in front of him. He's in tight. You see how much room is behind him there. And he's over toward the line a little bit.
Alvarez. And out at first. He may take a look at this.
They're going to keep the Pirates on the field. They're going to wait until they get word from their clubhouse of whether it was, in their opinion, a correct call, and they agree with the umpire.
So they get D. Gordon a
Pirates Baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by Allegheny Health Network, Health for All. By Kenny Ross, Just Ask a Neighbor. And by Levin's, the official furniture and mattress supplier of the Pittsburgh Pirates. For the best quality, service, and value, shop Levin's. Let's go Bucks!
It's a 2-0 Pirates lead here in Miami. The Pirates scoring twice in the third inning. Jay Happ, back-to-back shutout starts for him after giving up just one run in his previous outing against the Mets. As disappointing as it has been for the Pirates not to add on a bunch and get Kohler out of there, Happ has let it stand. He's due up third here in the sixth inning. Tremendous work.
Again, another find, I guess you could say.
Tom Kohler got out of that jam, and with nothing going at the plate, 2 outs in the bottom half of the fifth, Dan Jennings lets him bat, and he gets the hit off of Alvarez's glove. And now here is Alvarez. He was lined out to second and struck out.
And you still certainly get the feeling that the Pirates don't want to let games get away from them at this stage of the season. Got to have some offense tonight. Now, I don't know. It would happen, and probably with maybe some help in the bullpen, might throw a shutout tonight. But that doesn't bother. I want offense. You know, I know you can't win every game, but there's been a number of opportunities tonight to really pad this lead. You got to do that. Can't just get the big hits against the good teams. When you're playing teams that are scuffling like the Marlins, you can't back off at all. You got to keep your foot on that accelerator. I was talking to Teak about this before the game. He called things playing teams like the Marlins late in the year like this kind of like a trap series, where you can kind of take things for granted a little bit. Been playing so well against the better teams in the league.
Alvarez strikes out for a second time. He's 0 for 3. The Pirates host the Rockies on Saturday night at PNC Park. First 20,000 fans will get a Bill Mazeroski replica statue, courtesy of Levin Furniture. Fun starts with the Saturday block party on Federal Street, and everybody's a winner on an Eaton Park Scratch and Win Saturday. For tickets, go to Pirates.com. Pirates and Rockies, Game 2 of that 3-game series homestand. Now the pitch to Mercer is up and in. Send along a get well wish to Dominic Leonardo, 14 years old, out of Mount Pleasant. Dominic, we're thinking about you. Hopefully your Buccos pull this out tonight for you. 1-1 count on Mercer. Curveball again for a strike. Jay Happ come to the plate for the third time. See the pitch count now, 106 for Kohler. Season high 109. July the 23rd. Mercer into center field for a base hit. Jordy Mercer, who had an at-bat last night, returned off the disabled list and grounded out. His first 2 times up tonight, he lined out and flied out. Here a base hit to center.
The change up in off the plate. Look where those 2 curveballs were too, Greg. And it's just a hit or miss for Kohler to throw the ball where he wants to. Now he got 2 strike calls on those curveballs that I was pointing out. That's the last place he's trying to throw. He's not trying to throw curveballs up and in to a right-hand hitter. And then he throws a changeup off the plate inside to a right-hand hitter. Cost him base hit. But his control is just not anywhere near what he really needs it to be. And that's why he has had to scuffle so much with runners all over the place tonight.
Happ tries to move Mercer to scoring position. Brian Ellington back up in the bullpen. Saw him loosening in the 5th. Happ will get it down and get the job done. 2-4 on the sacrifice. Pirates have 2 hits with runners in scoring position in this game. Both hits from Andrew McCutchen. See if Gregory Polanco can produce his 4th hit of the night. He's doubled twice, singled and scored. He's now 11 for 19 here at Marlins Park, going back to last year. Fouls off that first pitch.
So
aggressive.
timid when he first steps into the box. Not sure what he wants to do.
We talked earlier about an Inside Pirates Baseball coming up with Richie Hebner, the hacker, former Pirate. Lumber Company days. Those guys get up there. They wanted to swing the shillelagh. And this ball hit toward right center field. And it is going to be Ozuna to make the catch. And the Pirates are now 2 for 12 with runners in scoring position, but still lead 2-0.
June 13th, when Gregory Polanco experienced maybe the proudest moment of his entire baseball career. He hit the game-winning home run in the 13th inning. Not only that, but he did this with his mother in the crowd watching him play in person for the first time ever. He told me earlier today that he remembers everything about that day. His agent unexpectedly came knocking on his hotel room door that morning really early. So Gregory was kind of startled, answered, only to find his mom standing right outside the door. He had no idea his mom flew from the Dominican Republic, and they both cried immediately as they hugged one another. And in fact, get this, Greg and Bob, Gregory is staying on the same floor today, this day as he did last season. He woke up today wondering if mom was going to show up, but she's back home watching the game on TV. And guess what? He got the baseball back that he hit for that home run. And of course, it's at his mom's house back in the Dominican Republic. How about that? A first memorable trip here to Marlins Park for Gregory.
Neat stuff. From Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. He was just 22 years old last year when he hit that game-winning home run. So neat that his mom was on hand to watch it.
Yeah, that really is a great story.
And McCutchen racing toward the track. And with all that room, he retires Ichiro.
Well, how nice is it to have the speed of McCutchen and Marte and Polanco in this ballpark? So much acreage out there. Ball's hit well. You see McCutchen really getting to that ball quickly so he get a chance to slow down and make an easier catch out of it.
Martin Prado.
Certain ballparks that you almost have to have fast outfielders. That's one of them. Kind of like Colorado, for instance. Tons and tons of room out there. I was looking at that replay where Polanco hit the home run. I didn't realize he hit that ball in the 392 sign.
Yeah,
and it was about 10 rows deep. I mean, he just buried that one.
I wonder if he goes out to right field. Bob,
He looks up there. I'm sure he does.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Why, it had to.
Another strike, and Prado disappointed.
I mean, he'll remember that forever.
Yeah.
You know, his mom here.
Well, Prado wasn't happy his previous at bat when a strike was called against him. We saw that it was in the strike zone. That one, Happ got a call. Jeff Kellogg, crew chief and home plate umpire.
Pretty nice where he's keeping the baseball, isn't it?
Yep. In the air, there's Polanco.
Now that one not so nice, but got away with it for the out. That was supposed to be in on the hands, and he let that drift right down the middle part of the plate. But you can do that and get away with it. There's a certain train of thought sometimes that every time you throw in the middle of the plate, it's going to be a home run. Well, here you go. Center of the plate, above the belt, nothing but a pop fly.
Well, he's 1 out away from 2 straight starts of shutout ball, covering 6 innings. Martin Prado. You can hear him from up here. Derek Dietrich. 0-1. .92 pitches for Happ. Out in front 0-2. Jay Happ. You got to be happy with it.
I'm happy.
He's happening. And Rob, this is just sensational stuff. Jay Happ has done for the night. He's getting the obligatory hugs and fist bumps.
Yeah, that might be it.
I mean, just what a performance. This guy, if you look at what he's done now, his last 3 starts, 1 run in 17 in the 3rd innings. And Marte is hit for the first pitch, and he's looking out toward the mound. Brian Ellington, the new pitcher.
First pitch he threw, huh?
Very first pitch.
That always looks suspicious.
Yeah.
First pitch of a ball game you throw, it's not like it's just inside, but it just really drills somebody. Yeah, right in the back. You know, we were talking about what maybe Ray's secret is. The hug.
So Happ has not gotten hugs like this before.
No.
He comes to the Pirates and he gets
there's no fist bump, no shaking
from Ray
hands.
Searage, and you're right.
Well, it's not just Ray, it's the starting
team hugs. Whoa! And now Marte will move up, and Pirate fans here, and a lot of them on hand, by the way.
They're booing.
Not happy. 2 pitches, one hits Marte in the back, the other buzzes McCutchen.
Right up close. That good thing. Losing another veneer.
Yeah. Brian Ellington, the rookie, making his 10th appearance.
How about this pitch?
Yeah, this one way outside.
There's his numbers on the season. Just 3 walks in 11 innings. Not too bad, but couldn't be any wilder than he is right now.
And a drive to center field hits this hard. Ozuna back toward the wall. Ozuna makes a fine catch. Marte will tag and move up 90 feet. Heck of a play by Marcell Ozuna.
At PNC Park, that's in the Pirate bullpen.
McCutchen shaking his head.
You know, we talked last at bat what a great hitter he is. This is another thing that, you know, I mean, there's a pitch right down the middle. I mean, how great is he? But think about the first 2 pitches he saw. One right up by his head, the next one 1.5 feet outside. Guys all over the place. Now he throws one for a strike and catches right there, focused, hits the ball 418 feet.
Infield in. Chung Ho Gong hit into the 5-2-3 double play in the 5th. Pirates 2 for 13 with men in scoring position. Gong 0 for 3 in these situations. Fly ball with any depth scores Marte. McCutchen still talking. That ball hit hard to center field. Outstanding catch by Marcell Ozuna. Marte hit by a pitch, went to second on the wild pitch, moves up on the fly ball.
That's another thing about Kutch. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody that loves to talk about hitting more than he does with his teammates.
97.
Every time we show him in that dugout, he's talking to somebody, might even be a pitcher. We talk to him about hitting.
Talking to another guy that loves to talk about hitting, Josh Harrison. Now 3-2. Pirates score their 2 runs in the 3rd on the McCutchen double. And it's 1st and 3rd.
Well, right now, Ellington's just kind of rearing back and throwing the ball toward home plate. That general direction.
Neil Walker has flied out and walked twice.
It's like you look at where the balls are going on their strike ball chart thing. It looks like just a wild shotgun blast. They're all over the place. And we're talking about an improved cylinder too, not a full choke.
That's right.
I mean, it's everywhere. In a way, it's hard for a hitter. That's why I was impressed with Kutch hitting that ball the way he did. It's hard for a hitter.
Effectively wild.
Yeah, you don't know what he's throwing or where it's going. He's just, and he throws hard. So there's a little fear factor in there too. This guy doesn't know where the ball is going. He's throwing hard. Is it going to come up by my ear flap?
It's 0-2. Jared Hughes coming on the Pirates at the bottom of the 7th. Jay Happage's 6 scoreless innings, allowing 4 hits. Pirates trying to get him another run. Infielder double play depth. One RBIs on the year for Neil Walker. Marte and Gong aboard. Close, but this is in. 2-2. Cordier up in the bullpen. Eric Cordier. Brian Ellington, his 10th big league appearance. And a fly ball that will certainly bring home the runner from 3rd base. Ozuna will make the catch. There's a sacrifice fly for Walker, and it's 3-0. Feels like you can exhale a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Finally got another run home.
Walker picks up the RBI.
It's like every inning the Pirates have been on the edge of breaking the game open. Just can't come up with that really big hit.
Cervelli has lined out, walked, and fouled to first. Walker, 52nd ribby. after Gong had walked. Set up for the double play, and he lifted it to the center fielder Ozuna. Score Marte. Cervelli has been hitting 8 recently, but with Ramirez getting the night off, he moves up to the 6 hole.
Batting average has dropped down 4 or 5 points in the last couple of games, hasn't it?
306 at the start of the day.
Is up about 311, 312, something like that at the high water mark.
Gong was going to take off, and a roller to the shortstop. Echeverria on to Gordon. Pirates scored 2 in the 3rd and been frustrated until the 7th when they get another on the board. 3-zip. Makes it 3 straight stellar starts. His first one against the Cubs gave up 4 runs in 4 1/3. Since then, 5 1/3, 1 run against the Mets, 6 shutout against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Tonight, 6 more shutout frames against the Marlins.
Just really same thing we were talking about in the open. The fastball command tonight was outstanding to both sides of the plate. Was able to follow Cervelli's glove around most of the pitches. Occasionally, nobody can be perfect. He would throw something where he had missed a little, but not very often. A very impressive game to watch. I'd have come probably 1,100 miles to see him pitch.
Yep. Sean Rodriguez takes over at first base with Jared Hughes on the hill.
A lot of work this year for Jarrett. 60 ball games. And he wouldn't have it any other way. Loves to be out there competing every single night. Let's see, 60 games, 53 innings. Occasionally he still comes in and has those partials. That was kind of his specialty a couple of years ago. Come in, try to get the ground ball, get a double play. He was a true baseball fireman.
He got a big last out on Thursday. That was his last appearance against the Giants. He went 1 1/3, followed Charlie Morton. It was interesting to see Archimedes Caminero come on in the 6th inning last night against the Giants. There's a drive toward the line and left, and it is a fair ball. A stumble by Ozuna, but he'll stand at second with a double. Leading off the bottom of the 7th inning.
Ball in off the plate inside. Yeah, that sinker also tails. So a lot of hitters are going to look down and in, look inside. Yep, it's a 3-run lead. Try to ignore him the best you can and get the next 3 guys.
Second time the Marlins have gotten their leadoff man on. McGee led off the second with a base hit. And now Antonio Bastardo.
Jared not showing a real good control right now.
Some tweets about Jay Happ's fine start. 12 innings, 6 hits, no runs his last 2 times out. And a bouncer to the right side. Walker to Rodriguez. The 1 away. Ozuna at third.
And even now, Jared needs to not even think about Ozuna over at third base. Just get the hitters out. The mistake was made when he hit the double. Nothing you can do about that now. You have a lead, you just get the next 3 guys. A lot of balls up in the strike zone so far. He's not driving it down at the knees and below. There we go. That one had a little more sink to it. A little bit lower. Still probably a little higher than you would ideally like, but you could tell the ball had that dip right there at the end. Saw it go down, the bat come right over the top of it.
Grounded sharply, and nice play by Gong. They get the out, and the Marlins get a run. Real Muto picks up the RBI, scoring Ozuna.
Sharply hit. Oh, suck up that hard ground ball.
He is a strong defender, especially at third base. Well, what a play he made last night in the 8th inning.
Yeah, he's shown to be an outstanding third baseman, and in his time at short, I think he's been able to hold his own out there. Maybe not the range that you see out of a lot of major league shortstops, but catches the ball that's hit at him, that's for sure.
And Rodriguez will scoop that up. So Jared Hughes gives up the double, but then more Hughes-like, retires the next 3, and it's 3-1. base. Watch Jung Ho Kang make that play. And I mean, this is a speedy guy who, at the plate, a swinging bunt by Norichika Aoki. And he really almost makes the play look routine.
He is so quick, and I've said this a whole bunch, that I don't know if there's anybody quicker in getting the ball out of his glove into his throwing hand than Jung Ho is. So fast with that exchange, and it definitely saw it on that replay.
I think there's so many third basemen that would have, maybe all of them, that would have tried to barehand that ball and maybe would make the play, but he is. I guess that goes back to your point about how quick he is with gloves and hand exchange. Because
it would be interesting to see, like when somebody barehands it. Now, when the ball hits their hand, go straight to their feet and watch how many steps they're taking. A step and a half, whatever. How far do they travel forward before they can throw the ball? And I would bet that it's no shorter than Jung Ho does, even though he uses his glove, because he's so quick with that.
Whoa. Sean Rodriguez is hit, and now he's thrown out of the game.
Yeah.
Cordier is thrown out of the game by Jeff Kellogg. And you have to appreciate Kellogg. These umpires have the right, if they are suspicious at all, not to hand out warnings, but to throw a guy out. And he does.
This is the way to do it. And it's not, come on, is everybody they're going to pitch tonight this wild? You know?
Exactly. And Jennings pleading the case, but
and I'm not saying that he is throwing at anybody on purpose, but after a while you get thrown out of the game just because you're bad.
Yeah, at some point,
you know,
you can't just keep hitting guys even if you're not intending to do it.
It doesn't matter. You're getting thrown out of the game because a major leaguer should be able to not have to hit everybody. So let's get a major league pitcher out there that's not throwing at people, that doesn't have to hit guys, that's not hitting people. So not that you're doing it intentionally, your control is just so bad that you have to be removed from the game.
Yep, got to get you out of there.
Simple as that.
Got no control.
If that was the first inside pitch of the night, okay, I got no problem with that. He just lost when it went inside. But everybody they've brought in is all over the place, throwing inside, knocking guys down, hitting guys. Hey, just keep throwing them out until they can get somebody out there that can throw the ball over the plate. I mean, what are you arguing?
No sense arguing.
No, and no sense warning anybody either.
Right.
What are you warning them for? You know, just, hey, get somebody else in here. I'm tired of seeing the Pirates have to lay on the ground.
A new pitcher will be coming on and getting as much opportunity to warm up as necessary. Takes control and tosses Cordier right away.
Yeah, that was great.
No warning.
I love what he did. Like this so much, Greg, I'm going to have cornflakes in the morning.
Very funny. in honor of Jeff Kellogg. Well, the Pirates have hit the most, and when it comes to the batters, they've also been hit the most. And tonight, we were talking about Kohler having control issues a couple of times, and then in the 7th inning, the reliever Marte is hit. McCutchen up and in.
So, and I don't think anybody's getting thrown out on purpose. I just think everybody's gone out there that's wearing the uniform of the fish is just has no idea where they're throwing the ball. No idea. I mean, it's just, you know, after a while you get tired of it, because what's going to happen if you don't throw somebody out? The Pirates are going to have to feel like, okay, we're going to have to retaliate.
Yeah.
Even
right.
if it's not on purpose, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
You got to stop it, and so this way now, hopefully,
the umpire stops it.
Hopefully, it's taken care of.
Here's Scott McGuff.
One game.
Another rookie. Whoops.
Oh,
throw him out of the game.
What is going on?
Would that be something?
Well, okay, this one was high, but
yeah.
I mean, what is I don't understand is what is the bullpen mound flat or something, and they're just not used to it when they get out here in the field. I don't think we've seen anything quite like this year.
No, I don't think so.
Everybody that comes in is all over the place.
This is a guy that wouldn't be buzzing Pirate batters. He's a Monroeville native, Scott McGuff.
No,
and in fact,
Pirate fan.
Doran Check, his teacher, our
that's
radio
right.
engineer.
Yeah,
taught him at Plum High School.
Yeah, Doran told us all about him a couple days ago.
He said, if Scott McGuff gives you guys any trouble, you tell him. His old teacher at Plum, Doran Check.
I'll keep him after for attention.
Absolutely. Scott McGuff attended college at Oregon. Came over from the Dodgers 3 years ago. A deal involving Randy Choate and Hanley Ramirez. Went to L.A. Runner going. 2-2 on Mercer. Facing Scott McGuff, who makes his second big league appearance.
He's got to be a little nervous right now, you would think, pitching to the Pirates.
You'd think so.
With not much experience at this level. It's his second game. It'll be a little thrill for him, too.
Giancarlo Stanton, Jose Fernandez, currently on the disabled list. As we mentioned earlier, hope to return sometime in September. Christian Yelich also on the DL, bruised knee. And bounds towards second, and Gordon stumbles and can't get the ball out of his glove or off the dirt, and he throws out Mercer. So says Brian Onora, but like Clint Hurdle was going to challenge it, and he is going to. Pirates think that Mercer is safe.
It looked like Gordon, even though Sean was running on the pitch, still wanted to try and get that double play, and that's what made him drop the ball.
See if we can tell anything on this Allegheny Health Network Supermo look.
Can't see the glove, but the ball disappeared behind McGee's body, it looked like early enough that Mercer's going to be out. Here we go. Now we'll be able to see the glove. No, I think he's going to be. I don't know. That's close. What do you think?
Let's again talk to Bob Walk, who's in the New York Replay Center. What did you tell us to do, Bob? You're saying what? I'm the umpire. You said what?
Well, I thought he was out, but now I'm not sure. I got to look at it again. Hold on.
Just about to take the headsets off.
Hold on, I'm not sure yet. I got to look at it one more time. First time I thought he was out, but then I thought he was safe. I got a different angle here. I'm looking at now. Hold on. Hold on. Let me rock this one back and forth. Let me rock it back and forth here a little bit. This has got to be the angle for sure. I think they're going to call him out. I guess right that time.
Ball stands. Pirates lose the challenge. Mercer is out, as it turns out, 4-3. Michael Morse started the year with these Marlins. And Echeverria on the first. 2 down. Getting ready for the bottom of the 8th inning is Tony Watson. See if they can tack on one more run.
I think Blanco can do that.
First 3 times up, double, single, double.
It's like they're trying to bunch him in the outfield, kind of giving him the lines a little bit. Take away the gaps best they can. Especially the left field line, but even in right, giving him a little bit of that line, probably. See there, I would call that 93 feet off the line. Line him up with the bases. Bases are 90 feet. Outfielder is at least 90 feet off the line.
Very good.
Sometimes you can do that, Greg, without even having that camera shot. Go with the pattern of the mowing in the grass. You can follow a mow line all the way out. A mow line.
Ripped. Foul. Jumped on it. 1-1.
Each mow line is like 6 feet wide, so you can count mow lines. I don't know how far it is. How many mow lines was that foul, Greg?
That was 3 mow lines shy of being fair.
Oh, nice play.
Pirates fan.
Should lean back. Oh,
great catch.
Fall down, back against the seat. It's all right. You got it. Good job. Ready for hunting season 2.
And Gregory Polanco.
How you like that, Mom?
Gregory Polanco. Little espresso for you. 4-hit night. brings home Sean Rodriguez, a big fourth run.
You gotta like answering like that. Marlins finally get their run, come back, take it away from them.
Gregory Polanco, does he love Marlins Park? Season high 4 hits for him. He had a 5-hit night last year. We talked about his first game here at Marlins Park. He takes off, and he's there, and now he's in center field. The ball into center field, and Polanco will go to third. He whips that helmet off. You see Polanco do that on occasion. He gets tired of that helmet holding him down. He's at third as the ball is thrown into center field.
The helmet holding him back. Get rid of that helmet. Look at this. Come on. Get rid of it.
There we go.
Get rid of it. There you go.
Quite a night for Gregory Polanco. 21st steal of the season. 4 hits. Has scored a run. Has driven in a run. Marte on base 3 times. Strike 3 call. Pirates get a run. Gregory Polanco has a night. Tony Watson will be coming on.
And may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Nissan Road ahead. The Pirates and Fish meet in Game 2 of this series. Lefty Brad Hand tomorrow night against Charlie Morton. Wednesday, Jeff Locke against Kendry Flores. And Justin Nicolino will start on Thursday against Garrett Cole. 6:30 each night. Charlie Morton looking forward to his start tomorrow night. 6-3 and 11 career starts against the Marlins. Tony Watson comes on and faces Cole Gillespie, the pinch hitter. Watson had a 1-2-3-8 last night against the Giants, setting up Mark Melancon, who came on to earn his 39th save. Gillespie on the base hit. And just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to look forward to Miller Time later in tonight's game. Brought to you by Miller Lite. Gregory Polanco has had a 4-hit night. First this season. Very busy on the base paths. Here's D. Gordon. Jay Happ pitched 6 scoreless innings, allowed 4 hits.
See how many runs the Mets have down there?
Oh my gosh, 14-7 they lead the Phillies. Can you imagine that game? Well, Wilmer Flores has hit 2. McCutchen froze for a moment, in a couple steps makes the catch. Juan Lagares, David Wright, Travis d'Arnaud, Michael Kadire, Daniel Murphy. Time now for our Data Strong fan photo of the game, brought to you by T-Mobile. Pittsburgh Renaissance Festival. A couple of Bucco fans with a Buccaneer. Thank you, Matthew, for that fan photo. And Ichiro takes a pitch just in. Send along a shout out to Nick Hilliard of Indiana, PA. Young Nick, big time Pirates fan. Got a chance to talk to him last night during the ball game as the Pirates and Giants concluded that series. 2-0 count on Ichiro. Ichiro fans everywhere.
He deserves it. What a career.
41 years old, 11.5 years with the Mariners, 2.5 years with the Yankees. He's done a great job signing as a free agent. Now here with the Miami Marlins. On the brink of achieving a few more milestones. Soon to be a Hall of Fame career when his playing days are over. And who wants to make the catch? It's the center fielder McCutchen, as Polanco goes into a slide. 2 outs. Ichiro, 2 more runs to reach 2,000 for his career between the majors and Japan. Watch Polanco. It's kind of a half dive slide.
Whatever it takes to get out of the way of the boss.
That's
the boss said, "I got it, so you get out of the way." That's what that was.
He's having some fun tonight. There's Martin Prado. That was a classic. Take another look after this pitch at Polanco. When the center fielder says it was his,
just lay down.
Just lay down. That's right. Watch this. Polanco.
Lay down.
2-0 on Prado with a runner at first, 2 outs. Prado singled in the first off of Jay Happ, then hit into a double play to end the third inning. Fly to right in the sixth. And off the glove. Walker trying to hurry but can't. If that ball had just settled on the dirt and not rolled away, he'd still get the out. But unfortunately, the ball rolled toward first. Couldn't get to it. Base hit for Prado.
That probably should have been a base hit anyway, a line drive, but still, and I agree with you, Greg. I couldn't tell at first how far that ball got away. I thought it kind of just dropped down, but as he tries to pull it back right there, he just kind of flicks it forward. Just far enough for Prado to beat it out. Need one of those outfielder's gloves.
Yep.
Probably tough to turn double plays with one of those babies on.
Derek Dietrich now at the plate. A little broken bat. Squibber for the final out. Scoreless eighth for Tony Watson. And it is a 4-1 ball game. The Pirates leading, going to the ninth inning, celebrating their engagement in Miami. Pirate fans rooting for the Bucks. Congratulations. And Gregory Polanco leading the way. The Pirates out in front, going to the ninth. And former Pirate Brian Morris.
He's had a lot of action this season. Done pretty good work too. ERA almost even 3, not bad.
And right away, up the middle and backhanded by Gordon, and McCutchen is retired by a step. Nice little play by D. Gordon.
Too much time there either. Cutch got a nice jump coming out of the box, smelling ahead. He was going down that line best he could. Put a little pressure on Gordon.
Jung Ho Kang, last time up, walked. Two and one. Mark Melancon, this is a save situation. Three and one. Young has struck out. Grounded to short, hit into a 5-2-3 double play. And Morris walks him with one out. Playing fantasy baseball, MLB.tv serves up real-time highlights and pitch tracking info on your out-of-market fantasy players live or on demand on over 400 devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Get MLB.tv today. There's the 4-1-2 line. I'm sure Steve Blass is watching and wishing he had a cap just like that. He likes to give our director Pete Toma some grief for not supplying some of his 4-1-2 swag.
Steve doesn't have a hat like that.
No, doesn't. Could you see Steve in that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Steve is.
Is there anybody more hip?
Well, he's moved right into the heart of the city.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Definitely should have the 4-1-2 hat.
No doubt.
Steve likes to have a hat too. He rocks some hats.
Yeah.
So I would think that he would definitely want one, and I think Pete should get him one.
Although I got to tell you, true story, and I understand Steve. I'm not being critical here, but I think he thought it was L12.
No.
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe that.
He did. And he still wanted it. Hey, get me one of those L12 hats.
Wonder what he thought it meant.
L12, see?
What's the little X for?
It's the steel symbol there,
Oh,
right? Yeah.
okay. Great.
South
like
side
it.
works. Take care of you.
You see him everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They're not just in Pittsburgh. They're all over the place. Even here in Miami.
2-2 on Walker. He's walked twice. Sacrifice fly in the 7th.
So where are you at, Greg? You're in a 7-2-4, aren't you?
That's you.
No. You're not in there with me? You're still 4-1-2 in it?
No, I'm 4-1-2. Well, Ryan Morris takes care of Neil Walker. 2 outs. Not sure what their area codes are. What do you think?
I think they're 7-2. I think they're 7-2-4s. I know John is. I don't know. Not sure about Tim. Now, I started out as a 4-1-2, but they switched me. It's the same house. They just took it from me.
That happens.
They just took it from me.
Maybe you could start a 7-2-4 line.
I already made one up.
Oh, did you? You made one up?
Yeah.
A 7-2-4 line?
Yeah. 7-2-4. We live outside the lines. We're on the outside looking in.
Yeah. Cervelli looks for his first hit. He's lined out, walked, fouled out, bounced into a forced play.
7-2-4, where the deer and the antelope play. You like that one?
Yeah.
7-2-4. We don't have the Rivers, but we have the Derrys.
Not bad.
We're going to have to work on this after the game.
I'm trying to think,
this gives us something to talk about.
What would Steve, if you had a 7-2-4 line, what would Steve think that said?
I don't know. We'll have to ask him about that.
What would he think? Three and one on Cervelli. Mark Melancon could be in line for his 40th save. Although one more run will take that save opportunity away. Pirates scoring 2 in the third on the Andrew McCutchen 2-out double. They made it 3-0 in the 7th on the Walker sacrifice fly. Marte scoring after he'd been hit by a pitch. Marlins got a run in the bottom of the 7th inning off Jared Hughes, and the Pirates added their 4th run on the Gregory Polanco base hit. Jay Happ is in line to win it. 6 innings of 4-hit shutout ball, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. He's now pitched 12 consecutive scoreless innings, and he's given up 1 run in his last 17 1/3 innings pitched. Oh my goodness, look out again.
That was definitely a low bridge.
Wow.
Right at his head.
Pirates have already had 2 players hit by pitches, and several have buzzed the tower.
Yeah.
This one here.
Look at that. That's right at his head. On a 3-2 pitch. So now 3-2, you're trying to throw the ball right down the middle for a strike down 3 runs. That's a big miss. That is a big miss. I mean, look down where the ball was, where he was aiming, and look where the ball went. You missed your spot by 4 feet.
Charlie Morton starts tomorrow night. A.J. Burnett.
You know, you see that something like 0-2 pitches and stuff,
right,
where you're trying to throw a ball up on somebody's hands and it gets away. You know,
well, so how do you explain
it goes up and in.
How do you explain something like that?
There's only 2 things. It's either intentional or you're ridiculously wild. One of those 2 things. Can't be anything else, can it? You're either doing it on purpose or you really are that wild.
Well, now in Morris's defense, we have seen him be at times ridiculously wild.
Yes, and that could certainly be what that was.
Brian Morris was traded early June of last year for a competitive balance pick.
But the thing is, we've seen it 7 or 8 times tonight.
Yeah.
By every Marlin pitcher that's gone out there, just about.
One count. Three and one, and that pitch missing.
It's a slider. Again, that's so far from where you're trying to throw a slider.
Chuck Hernandez.
Oh, he's got to be going crazy over there. What he's saying tonight.
Well, now they're loaded as Brian Morris has walked 3 batters. I mentioned the Pirates got a competitive balance pick minor leaguer now playing for the West Virginia Power, Joe Connor. Chuck Hernandez makes another trip to the mound. Pirates continue this series against the Fish tomorrow night here at Marlins Park. Our coverage starts at 6:30. Pirates pregame presented by WB Mason here on Root Sports. Pirates swept the Marlins in May. A 3-game series. They look to take the first of the 4-game set tonight. As we said in the open, the Pirates have won 15 of the 20 meetings since the start of the 2012 season. Pirates, the start of this day, 3.5 back of the Cardinals in the Central. They are just underway in Arizona. Lance Lynn on the mound for the Redbirds. Jhoulys Chacin for the Diamondbacks. Well, Mercer can put this one away with a big swing. Take the save chance away, which would be just fine. Make this a little more routine. Mercer with 1 hit and 4 at-bats and a line out. Brian Morris now has fallen behind 2-0. The Marlins forced to get a lefty up in the bullpen. Pirate fans wanting to see the Buccos win for the 75th time this season, and there's ball 3-0 on Mercer.
How many pitches the Marlins have thrown tonight? Everybody combined.
Yeah, we can add that up.
I need Rock for that. It's math. You go ask him.
Pirates get another run. 4 walks in the inning. Mercer picks up an RBI. 5-1 Bucks. Young scoring. 3 straight walks. Here comes Josh Harrison to pinch hit.
And that's going to be it. Morris out of the game.
Looks like Mike Dunn is going to be coming on to face Josh Harrison. 5-1 in the 9th. Morris got 2 outs but walked 4, forcing in 1 run. And now Mike Dunn looks to get the last out of the 9th.
Mike Dunn's numbers on the season, Greg, I just looked at his last 4 appearances. He's walked somebody in every one of them.
Oh, no. Oh, boy. And you're facing Josh Harrison. Dunn making his 15th career appearance against the Pirates, a .523 lifetime ERA versus Pittsburgh. His first 8 outings against the Bucks, he went 5 2/3 scoreless. His last 6, he's given up 6 runs and 4 2/3 versus Pittsburgh. And this should do it. 6-4 on the force. Pirates get a run, looking for 3 more outs. Keep the pressure on the Cardinals. Bottom of the 9th inning, traveling down South Beach Drive here in South Florida. Bucks look to finish this one off. 3 outs to get, leading it 5-1. Antonio Bastardo will look to get the 3 outs now.
Yeah, there's a little bit of control problems there for a while this year, but seems to have got that figured out of late. We've seen enough of that from the Fish, the guys in the white uniforms tonight. Hopefully Bastardo will be locked in as far as throwing strikes.
Bench was having some fun with Bastardo at PNC Park the other day. Before throwing that first pitch, he kind of freezes, ball in hand up in the air. I know that they'll do that again. It was that look. So the relievers, some of the starters rather, did that. And a couple guys on the Pirates bench were impersonating him. Chris Stewart, Neil Walker. First pitch swinging and a liner into center for Marcell Ozuna. Josh Harrison Stays in the game to play second base. And Mark Melancon will get up.
He's already loose. He could probably come in right now.
He will very likely come on if this man were to reach Casey McGee. It becomes a save situation. McGee tonight 1 for 3. Over the years, he has hit into a ton of double plays. This year has grounded into 17. Two and 0. Only Jonathan Lucroy of the Brewers has hit into more double plays. And Casey McGee, Aramis Ramirez of the Pirates also has hit into 17. Five runs, 8 hits for the Pirates, a run, 8 hits for the Marlins. Jay Happ 6 scoreless. Jared Hughes gave up a run in the 7th. Watson a scoreless 8. Seven of the Pirates' 8 hits belonging to the top 3 men in the order. That Pirates outfield we talked about: Polanco, Marte, McCutchen. Gordon, the league's leading hitter, held hitless in 4 at-bats. 3 of those against Jay Happ.
It's always important to keep that speed off the bases. One of your goals when you're pitching against these guys.
3 and 2. 2 of the 4 hits against Happ were infield singles. McGee had a leadoff hit to center field in the 2nd off of Happ. And toward right center field, that's going to get down. It's 1st and 3rd, and nobody out in the 9th.
Well, we'll bring in Melancon.
It is now a save situation. Yuki Rojas, the bullpen coach, letting Melancon know the batters he'll be facing. It'll be JT Realmuto, the catcher, first off, then Adeiny Echeverria, and then a pinch hitter.
On the way. There it is. Mark Melanson takes a bite out of the Cardinals.
Raise the Jolly Roger. Antonio Bastardo gives up leadoff hits to Marcell Ozuna and Casey McGee. Because of that, it becomes a save situation. And Clint Hurdle, like just about every manager in baseball, it's automatic. So as that happens, then they bring in their closer. In this case, it is the major league leader in saves with 39, Mark Melanson.
Try to get 40 now.
The other Pirate relievers in history to have 40 or more saves: Joel Hanrahan, Jose Mesa, Mike Williams. Williams has the all-time record, 46 in 2002. Strike on Real Muto. He has the Marlins' only RBI. It was a ground out in the 7th. Ground ball to third. Nice little play there by Gong. There's one, and they will not. Oh, they do get two. So says Brian Onora, the first base umpire. It's a double play for now.
Well, that was a darn good one.
It's also a 5-2 game for sure, regardless whether they challenge this or not. Dan Jennings, they do want to challenge him.
Osuna didn't really make any difference, but how about him just standing there? He didn't break until he realized, oh yeah, I think that might be a safe call. Until he realized that, you know, what was going on, and then he's like, oh, I need to run.
Another Allegheny Health Network Supermo.
He was going to stand at third base and watch the Pirates turn a double play. Yep, no doubt there. He is safe.
Perry Hill, the first base coach, infield instructor. Dan Jennings, the manager. Looks like it's going to be a 5-2 ball game and one out. And he is safe. That would have been big. And they could still get two because on deck is a home run threat. Justin Bour. Love to get now Echeverria to hit into the twin killing and not have to face Bour. Echeverria, another guy that hits into a lot of double plays. Chance, there's one and two. Raise the Jolly Roger.
They're going to look at it, Greg.
They are going to look at it again. Dan Jennings. For now, the Pirates win it.
I think he's. No, he wants the challenge.
Might as well. Certainly isn't going to cost you anything now.
You know, that's good. Like, why even wait?
Why
there?
even wait? I'm
just
surprised
say,
they
hey, go
waited.
ahead and challenge it.
A bang play at first. This time, I think the Pirates are going to get this call.
Yeah, I agree with you.
This should be a game-ending double play.
Yep. Go ahead. Raise it.
Go ahead and raise it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Buccos win it. Melanson, his 40th save. Gregory Polanco leads the offense. The Pirates are 4-0 against the Fish this season. Continue their great play against the Marlins since 2012. And the Diamondbacks lead the Cardinals early on in Phoenix. If they could pull out a win, the Pirates would move to within 2.5 games of the Cardinals in the Central.
Well, it's just a little bit of momentum now that is almost kind of unstoppable. You just hope the offense can continue to get the ball out of the ballpark. They didn't tonight, but still it was a pretty good job. They got a couple of big key hits.
And what a performance by
Kutch got that one down there. Yeah, of course, that's the big thing in this ball game. That overshadows everything else. The start that Jay had, just outstanding again.
You saw the Pirate fans raising the Jolly Roger here in Miami. The Pirates win it, and Mark Melancon earns his 40th save. And we'll go back to the studio and Robin Teague.